I'm Jenny Robertson, founder of the On Purpose Woman Global Community and founder and publisher of On Purpose Woman magazine. I'm excited to share with you the speaker portion of our Connections Over Coffee gathering of the On Purpose Woman Global Community. Carolyn McGee is speaking on Secrets to Living Inspired, Connections at Every Level. Carolyn is an intuition expert and founder of Sacred Haven Living, a healing community using life's experiences. She helps women break patterns to understand relationships to themselves, others, money, and spirit. As the decision queen, and that's in all caps, I might add, not all caps, but capital letters, so big time decision queen, she guides you to trust your intuition to make empowered decisions without second guessing to take inspired action. Carolyn is the lead author of Inspired Living, Superpowers for Health, Love, and Business, and she's also a TV host, speaker, and blogger. You can find out more about Carolyn on her website, carolynmcgee.com, and that is also in the text of this video. Carolyn, thank you for being with us today. Looking forward to what you have to share with us.
Thank you. I always love this community and being part of it, so I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to such an engaged audience. So as I mentioned before we started here, I believe that there's a silver lining in everything, and everything around us can be looked at as a connection. So I'd like to just invite you guys to look around your space. Take a look at what's around you. What maybe there's things that can you feel support you. They've got a good memory around them. Or maybe there's things that you're hanging on to because somebody gave them to you. Or maybe there's things that you just feel like you have to have, but they don't really bring you joy. But there's a reason that all of these things are around you. They're all different types of connections. So, and we'll get into that a little bit more later. So I am a living inspired expert. It's taken me years to be able to really feel that claim and to live like it. Like so many people, I had a lot of trauma in my childhood and throughout my life. And it wasn't until I realized that how every choice and thought are connected that I could choose to live in the past with the accompanying depression and be fearful about actually living my life. Or I could choose to live in the future with anxiety, stress, worry about what happened before, that it might happen again. I chose to look at all of those connections and all of those events as opportunities for healing. So a quick little story about what cemented this for me is what many may consider a trauma turned out to be a blessing for me in 2006. I was a single parent and I had lost my high-tech manufacturing job. And it was the first time I chose to do what was right for me instead of what everybody else had been telling me to do. I believed in myself. I trusted my inner wisdom. I trusted my faith and my abilities. And I believed that it was all happening for me, not against me. So I took a chance and I started a pet care business, which, by the way, is thriving 18 years later. And that business allowed me to really step into taking responsibility for my own decisions. I had no one else to blame anymore. And it also reopened my ability to connect with animals. From there, the next step was for me to reconnect with the divinity outside of myself. A friend of mine mentioned an angel healing circle, and I relearned how to communicate with angels and ascended masters and deceased loved ones. I became a Reiki master and an EFT practitioner. And with all of those connections, I started seeing the connections in everything. Because really, when you talk about energy or healing, it's deeper than just the energy that we use, as energy work. It's deeper than our physical bodies, and it's deeper than our connections with people. You know, relationships are not just with people. Relationships and connections are with everything that we surround ourselves with. So here's another example to kind of help you bring some stuff into your own minds. My grandmother's family has been farmers, probably since before they came to the United States, but it's documented since the 1600s. They developed a relationship or a connection with the plants that they nurtured, with the animals who help work them, farm, and feed them. And this has flowed down through the generations into my grandmother, my mother, and myself. My grandmother had an affinity for gardening, and she had over an acre flower garden. I have plants in my backyard right there that are shoots or seeds from those gardens. And those plants nurture me as much as I nurture them. That's what I mean by a connection. So over the past 18 months, I've been having what I call a health epiphany. I've had to stop doing and just be. And I noticed that as I was not able, or I didn't have the energy to care for my plants, that they weren't thriving as well. And it became a cycle. It's that infinity loop. Because as they didn't thrive, I thrived less, and that energy cycle diminished. So I asked for help. I had somebody come in and help me take care of my plants, weed my garden, so that they could thrive and then I could thrive. That's what I mean by a connection. Keeping your options open and your awareness of things that support you and don't support you. So again, taking your awareness back to your room, what connections do you see that perhaps support you? Are there things that you could move in your space to help you focus more on what you need that space for? You know, feng shui is really an amazing energetic system, and it's really all about connections. How are you going to support the energy in each space? So I invite you to think about what's feeding you and what's not feeding you. And I'm going to give you a few more examples to help you open up your awareness. Another connection that's related to my grandparents that I spoke about is animals. I'm a pet psychic as well as a pet lover, and my animals feed me also. So when I wasn't feeling well, my cats would jump up on my chest and purr. So yes, sound, that's another connection. It's actually been scientifically proven that the resonance of a cat's purr has a healing frequency. So I had problems with my lungs and my heart. That was part of what my healing challenge was. And having my cats jump up on me and purr helped me heal. And they intuitively knew it's what I needed, and they provided it for me. They actually would take turns. One would be here and the other one would be kind of standing by. They'd give me a little bit of a break. And as soon as I sat down again, the other cat would hop right up on my chest and purr for me. So it's something that just to think in your awareness, how are you being supported? So another type of connection, just to give you guys some little seeds to think about in your own world, is my family and my ancestors. I live surrounded by family heirlooms that support me. I have my dad's mother's china cabinet that makes me smile and remember every time I look at it. Because as a kid, I remember going to her house after school, and she was a baker. Oh my goodness, she was just so amazing. And the house smelled fabulous. And I'd walk in there and she'd always go and get those teacups, you know, the flowered ones, that the cup and the saucer match, but they don't match anything else. So she'd let me pick out my teacup, and then she'd have special plates, and we'd have cookies and tea after school. And so I get that warm hug feeling every time I see that china cabinet in the middle of my living room. And I have furniture that my dad made, which fills me with love every time I'm in its presence. And that's another connection. You know, he cut down a tree and the stump was in the shape of a heart, the center of it. So I have this heart piece of wood that every time I look at it, it makes me think of my dad and it makes me feel loved. It's beautiful. And my sister has one and my mom has one. So, you know, it's a circle. It pulls us all together. Another thing is I have an antique cradle that my mom was gifted at her baby shower for me. And now it's filled with plants. And that's the way my mother used it also, when it wasn't needed for a baby. And so that's another connection. That's actually two connections. So on the other side of that, I had mentioned briefly the looking at what's not supporting you. When I was going through my divorce many years ago, my ex-husband and I fought over this. It was a Tiffany style lamp. It was actually really beautiful. And we argued over it, and I didn't actually care about having it or not, but because we were arguing, I wanted it. Way back. It kind of cracks me up to think about it now. But I had that Tiffany lamp in my bedroom. So think about this. Arguments associated with the lamp. I purchased it with my ex-husband. It's in my bedroom. It's filled with negativity. And, you know, I was kind of wondering why I can't find a healthy relationship. So my cat at the time, he has since passed, would jump up on the dresser and hip check. Now we're talking an 8-pound cat, just to put it in perspective. And this was probably a 30-pound lamp because it was solid. He would push it off until until he got my attention that this thing really doesn't belong here. So I gave it to a friend who did glass work and she repurposed it. And the energy in my house and specifically my bedroom just was so much lighter, so much easier. But that was a connection. It was me connecting and following the wisdom of my cat to get rid of something that was literally draining my energy and making me sad every time I saw it, or it was making me angry every time I saw it. And that's not energy that we need in a space, you know, dedicated to building romance and intimacy and also getting a good night's sleep. So really important things to think about. How are you helping yourself? How are you not helping yourself? So another connection that is a really powerful one for me, and I think a lot of people just don't think about, is the energy of color. So yeah, connection, color. We surround ourselves with it or we don't surround ourselves with it. But color has a frequency and a vibration, and it can raise your energy, amplify a desire, or it can make it harder to create what you're looking for in life. When I was living with my now ex-husband, he liked everything that was neutral. It was slate gray, or, you know, that gray blue or beige, and it just stripped me of my energy. I need vibrancy. I need the energetic support of color. And I realized when I moved into my own home with my kids, I kind of went a little crazy on the other way. The kids used to call it the clown house because every room was painted a different color, but it worked for me. It raised my energy. And then as I recovered and the energy came back into my body, then I could paint things a more muted color. But I really needed that, almost like an infusion of energy into my household and into me personally. So yes, color can make a huge difference in our lives, and where you use certain colors can also help you amplify something you're trying to bring in. And so another thing to think about that a lot of us in this room probably already are using is crystals. You know, crystals also have a vibration. There's an energy not only in their color, but it's also in their composition. So they can be utilized to support you. They can help you sleep. They can help you manifest your dreams. They can help you heal. And I can attest to that. I was sleeping with crystals under my bed, attuned for what I was going through with my healing. It turned out to be mold toxicity. You know, there's all different types of things that you can use to help support your body, not only the external symptoms, but also the cause, the root cause. And I'm sure you guys all know, but I'm going to repeat it again. The root cause is what you need to get down to. And having the clarity and using all of these connections around us can help us get to that. And keeping your mind open. You know, another connection that happened for me is a friend was coming to visit from Massachusetts to Asheville, North Carolina, where I live now. And she didn't know that I hadn't been feeling well. We just met for lunch. And the minute she saw me, she's like, "Girl, what's up with you? Something not right." And then so I told her a little bit about what was happening. And she just looked at me and she said, "You have mold. There's mold someplace." Right? That's so powerful. And I have an amazing functional medicine doctor, and it was the one thing that she hadn't tested before. I'd been tested for everything, trying to figure out what was causing the inflammation for me. So I went to my doctor, I was tested for it. I have 3 different types of mold that have turned into mycotoxins in my body. And then I found out my crawl space that I had already spent a lot of money mediating, still had it in there. But without that connection, that coincidence, some might call it, I wouldn't have had my crawl space checked out again. I wouldn't have been tested, and I would have healed. I truly believe that, but it would have taken me longer. So it's those connections, really believing those and stepping into them. So another way, another connection is the land that you live on, or the part of the world that you live in. I lived in Durham, North Carolina until I was almost 7. And then eventually moved, both of my parents were from upstate New York, northern New York, actually almost to Canada. And I always felt like I was a Southern girl trapped in the North. And ironically, after college, I moved to Massachusetts, and I lived there for 30 years. Very successful, but not really happy. I never felt connected to where I lived, to the land, to the energy, or the vibration. When my son graduated from college, I moved back to North Carolina. And literally, when I crossed the state line, I felt like I had come home. Everything shifted for me, everything changed. The energy of North Carolina fills me. I connected to the land that I live in, that I purchased, in a way that I was never able to in the previous homes in New York and Massachusetts. And as I mentioned, I'm a gardener, and the land down here is clay. And my plants are doing better in the clay than they did in New York or Massachusetts, because the energy of the land supports us. So really think about where you're living, who you're surrounding yourself with. Are you feeding yourself? Or you losing energy? There's so many different ways that we can be kind of like a sieve and have energy flow out of us versus supporting us. So putting all of these things together helped me realize like how many ways that we are supported, how we can support ourselves, and ways that we can drain our energy. So I'll give you one quick final one here is I've always loved the energy of water. And, you know, I'm a fire sign, so you wouldn't think that water would be something that would be really beneficial for me. But I realized that my grandparents had a river that went through the back of their property, and that water made me feel safe. There was an anchoring to the water in an energetic way that brought me back to being a kid in a safe environment. As I mentioned, I had a really challenging upbringing. My dad was an alcoholic, and being at my grandparents' was a safe sanctuary for me. So there's a deep association with water. And there's also an association for me with water and clearing. So, doing that hindsight 2020 thing, I realized that I intuitively and probably unconsciously have always surrounded myself with water. I loved baths. I had a wishing well fountain out in my gardens. I had well fountains inside my house with running water. So I've always had water features. As a matter of fact, this summer I just put together a big waterfall where I've got plants in a water garden now. So I'm using the energy of things that support me to help ground me, which I know, counterintuitive, that water grounds me, but it really does. So open up your minds, open up your awareness into what can support you that might surprise you. So I just want to have you guys take another quick look around your space. Think about something that maybe you're surprised at supports you, or maybe something that you just want to move into another space that's not supporting you. And realize that everything that we encounter, every event, every person, every experience, every situation, no matter what it is, it's truly there for you. My illness was one of the greatest gifts that I've ever been given, because I said no to so many things, so many energy drains, times that I had said yes when I really knew that I should have said no. And it's helped me focus. It's helped me be really clear on what my business is and why I'm here and how I'm supposed to spend my energy and my time. So thank you all. I appreciate you. I appreciate you listening. And I would love to hear a few questions as soon as we are ready to. Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you, Carolyn. I want to ask everyone here who is muted now to unmute yourself so we can give Carolyn a round of applause and maybe do a little shouting out and tell her how much we appreciate this. You've certainly given me a lot of things to look around and think about and look to maybe shift and change. So thank you so much for that. And before,
Woohoo!
go ahead, y'all. Go
Thank
ahead.
you.
Okay.
Great job. Great.
Well, I want to also thank anyone who's watching this live or the replay on our YouTube channel. Please check out all the other women on our channel who share their gifts, their wisdom, and their expertise to inspire you to move forward, whether it's about your business or other aspects of your life. If you want to join us for one of our Zoom or in-person gatherings, go to my website, opwgc.com, where you can find out all about our community and the magazine. That link is in the text of this video. And be sure to check out Carolyn's work at her website, carolynmcgee.com, and that is also in the text of this video. Thanks for watching.